ఓం శ్రీ గురుభ్యో నమః. అందరికీ నమస్కారం. In this video, let us examine how to handle criticism in life. See, what they see in you is a reflection of their very self. What you don't have in you, you can't see it in others. So, criticism is inevitable. It is always an opinion of the other person. If you argue with other people's judgment, their criticism may prompt you to improve yourself. However, if you disagree, you may be embracing negativity, and negative emotions weakens you, remember. Sometimes it can be hard to deal with criticism, especially if it comes from your loved ones. So, when others try to unload their negativity and opinions onto you, at that moment you have a choice, an option, either to reject, to discard, or to let go. See, if you can let go, you will remain peaceful. Your heart will not be wounded, certainly not as much, if you can let go. You see, in this regard, let me share a story as told by a master. There was a certain monastery in Japan founded by a Chinese master long time ago. So, the master and his followers were known for destroying religious texts and other such things like statue of Buddha and other religious symbols. So, their rationale in destroying them was to free themselves from any form of conditioning and attachment. Their rationale was to free themselves from that any kind of conditioning or attachment. So, they believed that such symbols and texts conditioned and shackled the mind rather than freeing it. So, radical methods of the Chinese masters helped many to gain transcendental state. However, those who disagreed with their methods criticized them very heavily. So, once it happened like this: two seekers, well educated, one even a professor from North America, visited their monastery once. So, they had fairly well read and had preconceived notions about that place and its founder, that is the Chinese master. So, when they visited that monastery, the head of the monastery received them and took them around for a tour of the monastery. So, towards the end of the tour, the Roshi, he is called the elder master is called like Roshi. So, led them into a ceremonial hall to pay respects to a statue of the founder by prostrating and offering incense. So, the two seekers, the two seekers and the visitors were disturbed as they had read all about the founder and his radical acts. Although disconcerted, they followed quietly whatever is happening. So, when that elder master called Roshi bowed before the statue, the professor could not no longer contain himself and blurted out like this: "This man you idolize, he burnt and spat on Buddha statues. Why do you bow before him?" Then he said, "If you want to spit, you spit." So, replied that elderly master called Roshi calmly, and also he said, "I prefer to bow." So, I am bowing down to the statue. So, that is the end of the story. Now, there you go in what that elder master said to the visitors. Whether you spit or bow, it is your choice, and whether they bow or spit is their choice. So, you exercise yours and let them exercise theirs. So, the master then further said, he is reminded of a quote which is as follows: "Those who love you don't need any explanation, and those who don't love you are not going to believe the one anyway." So, this is the quote. So, when you are offered criticism, you may choose to clarify your position only if you truly wish to do that and necessary. You may wish to reflect on it, for such criticism may even be true. So, beyond that, do not cause yourself grief by brooding over others' thoughts and opinions. Reject it promptly. Your freedom, inner bliss is entirely in your own hands, the master said. It is your own state of mind. What you do not accept can never affect you. Everyone has a right to their opinion. Till you rise above criticism, you must discover your own method to deal with it. So, here are some of the popular methods suggested by the master. See, one is distance yourself physically. That means, if you can distance yourself physically, you will no longer hear their opinions and will not be grieved. This is one. Then the next method is disappear mentally. See, if you can find something else to focus on or shift your attention so that you are listening to your inner voice, you will retain your blissful state inside. It is like listening to your iPod while the other person is watching TV. There is a live example in this regard. You see, one elderly person went to a spiritual retreat along with his family. So, the family is very much fond of the rituals, whereas this elderly man has resorted to the practice of meditations and all that. So, and the elderly man is not interested in the rituals, but as the family insisted, and as a family member, he also required to accompany the family for that spiritual retreat. So, when the retreat was going on and the family has indulged in that ritualistic practices, the elderly man chose to look into himself through meditation, and he enjoyed his meditation, he enjoyed his presence with the divinity, and he was at peace, while the other members of the family are engaged in the ritualistic practices. So, it is like this: you will retain your blissful state when you can find something else to focus on or shift your attention, so that you are listening to your inner music. Then the third one is you have to sympathize. It means like this: if you pay attention, you will discover that those who criticize you are full of their own insecurities, because those in bliss and peace do not criticize others. They may politely offer their point of view, but you will not see them criticize. So, next time when you are faced with the criticism, fill your heart with empathy towards the other person, as they might have had a rough childhood or an unfulfilling life. This is the only way, and this is the only way, that means criticism, this is the only way they have learned to protect and express themselves. So, the method of sympathizing is the most compassionate way if you are matured. So, if you can practice this, not only will you experience great peace, you will trigger a subtle transformation also in the other person. So, just like it is just like this: upon boarding a plane, your destiny is in the hands of a pilot. Similarly, when you take the flight of an argument, it is no longer about you alone. If you choose to react or respond, we have just procreated a new entity of disharmony and negativity. So, you have already boarded at that time, and the control is less and less in your hands. You may unnaturally curb other person's response if if you exercise greater authority, but the damage is already done. So, how about when you yourself are criticizing? If you are not kind enough, big enough to appreciate what the other person is doing for you, do not be so small to criticize either. There is a difference between helping someone to improve and being downright negative about what they are doing. If you do not understand their point of view, it does not mean they are wrong. Be fair. You see, the master finally said, remember two sets of rules. Yes, you want to make a point. Yes, you really believe the other person is at fault. Surely you know what all they can do to improve. Now, there is no doubt in your mind that you are impartial and your statements are genuine. But the truth is, the other person also feels exactly the same about himself or herself. So, finally, it is all in you, not all about you. So, that is how you have to handle the criticism in life. So, thank you all.